Okay. We good? We got that camera rolling, E? Oh boy, okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for coming out tonight to our George Floyd roundtable discussion. Thanks to everybody that's watching from home as well. And I want to especially thank all of you panelists for coming. I get out, sit down so you can see you, Rach. For coming out and for being willing to share tonight. I'm really excited about this event. I'm really hopeful about this event. You know, we've been talking about what happened with George Floyd, and not only that particular incident, but that all that's come about as a result of that, and some of what's happened in the past. You know, it's on everybody's minds, it's on everybody's hearts, and it's important that, you know, we talk about it as a church. And one of the things for me that I really believe is important and that has been really helpful for me is to talk to people that I actually know and get their perspectives on not only these issues that we're dealing with here, but on other things too. Because obviously there's some complex issues out there right now. And it's important to, I think, hear from other people, especially people that you know and have a degree of relationship and trust level with, hear their hearts and hear where they're coming from and hear what they're thinking and hear about how they see things. And, you know, I would love to hear everybody in the room's perspective as well as everybody's at home, and maybe someday we'll be able to hear all of that, but we only have so much time tonight. So what I thought would be most beneficial to kind of get things started for us as a church would be to invite some of the African American, you know, members and attenders of our church to come if they were willing, because you guys have a unique perspective. You guys have a minority perspective in our church, at least. You know, you guys are the minority, and I think we really want to hear from you. We also invited Chris right here in the white shirt to come. Chris is a police officer on the Duluth Police Department, and I think his perspective is super important as well. And it's not to devalue anyone else's perspective, because everybody's perspective is important, but for the sake of time and for the sake of tonight and for the sake of what we're trying to do, which is to gain, you know, individual perspective as well as broader perspective on what happened with George Floyd and what's flowed out of that. That's what we're trying to do for tonight. Okay, so we're not gonna, you know, we only have so much time. We're not gonna solve all the problems of the world tonight. That's not the goal. But the goal is to, like I said, gain perspective from each other, listen to one another. We're gonna start by having each of these folks just take maybe 3 to 5 minutes, you can't take too long, to tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about how you're processing all these things. And I want everybody to know that, you know, this is your church family. We want you to be able to share freely, and we want you to be able to share open and honestly. And we want to be good listeners, even if something that's said may, you know, rub us the wrong way or offend in some way. We're not going to pass judgment. That's the point. I mean, what's happened elicits really strong emotions and strong thoughts, and we know there's strong feelings out there on both sides of all of these issues. So that's what we've been talking about through our sermon series. And so we want to obviously be respectful and loving and kind and non-judgmental. We want this to be safe. It should be safe. And yet at the same time, we want to say what's on our heart too, and we want to feel free to share. Okay, so that's where we're coming from. So that'll be the first half of our night. And then in the second half, we're going to open up the floor to questions. So you guys that aren't on the panel, we want to give you a chance to ask questions of the panel, to share whatever you might have on your heart and want to share. And we're also going to be taking questions from home. So if you're at home, you've got a question, you can text it to me at 218-341-5584. 218-341-5584. I'll take the questions that way. As you ask them, you don't have a mic, so I'll reiterate the questions that you ask so they can be heard. And you can ask questions generally, or you can ask questions of individuals on the panel, would be the idea, okay? So I want to open in prayer, but before we start, does anybody have, especially panelists, have any questions for me about how this is going to roll?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, James.
So if you okay, without going to great detail, could talk to you, like what I would talk to you about?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we're looking for. Okay. Yep. Because I think for all of us, our past and our story and who we are, and that affects, how we're processing and how it affected us. Yep. So, yep. Okay. So James, go first. Let me pray, James, and then we'll let you go. Okay. God, we thank you so much for the chance to be here tonight. Thank you so much for everybody who was bold and brave enough to come up and be a part of this panel. God, we know these are loaded issues and emotional issues and serious issues, and so I just thank you so much for everybody that's here and willing to share. I pray that you would bless each one. Your Holy Spirit would be on each one, that they would feel safe. They would feel free to share their hearts tonight. God, help all of us to be great listeners. Help us to be willing to share our hearts in response to what's shared, to share our perspective and to ask good questions. And we just want to gain understanding. We want to gain perspective. We want to understand, the many thoughts and ideas and emotions that people are feeling in our nation and country right now, so that we can better pray, so that we can better understand and empathize people on, wherever they might stand, and so that we can, better know what to do to help things to get better in our nation, Lord. So thank you for this first step we're taking tonight, and please just bless this time. I pray that you would be mightily present with us, and that this would be a very, very beneficial event. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Okay, so hey, when you share, be sure you tell us your name and stuff like that, just in case, somebody doesn't know who you are, okay? And you can take that mask off as you share, James.
My name is James. When I seen what happened to Mr. Floyd on TV, I looked at it like, oh, here's another African American that's been unjustly harmed by the police officer, but unfortunately this man lost his life. And it's been a long time coming for this to come to the light. It's been going on for years, and it had been being pushed back, and I do believe what's in the dark should come to the light one day, and it took these years and that one individual to get this attention that's going. So like I say, I have been witnessing this for years. I never experienced it personally myself. I grew up, I was born in the 60s, so this was right at the time when Martin Luther King was at the end of his speeches and stuff. I think it was 68 he died, where he was killed. So I didn't really feel it, but I witnessed it. A lot of it. I seen a lot of police brutality, but how it affected me, it's just certain things I do. For instance, I keep in my car, I got a copy of my driver's license, my car insurance on a piece of paper. That's how when a police officer pulled me over for whatever reason, I don't have to reach for anything but up. I grab my paper and my hands go out the window and stays out the window. Till he walk up to that car, take it, I have nothing to say to him. Whatever he asks me, I answer him. But it messes with me psychologically and mentally. These are things I have to do to keep myself safe. I leave my hands out the window until he returns. Give me back my paper, I move on. Other ways I've been affected by this, I don't deal with the racism. I remember when I was a kid, you could be at the bus stop, playing around, waiting on a bus. Car pull up, some white individual people in there, all of a sudden you hear their car doors locked. That hurt. Like, wow, what's that all about? They just automatically assume that you was gonna try to rob them or break in their car or whatever, So I've been dealing with this mostly mentally. You know, you go in certain stores, you get followed. You can tell when someone's following you around in the store. You know, you go down this aisle, they down this aisle. But when you came in the store, they was up at the counter. So you know they worked there. You know, I experienced one this morning at work. I was just happening to be preparing the storage room for the truck in the morning. I had the side door open, a gentleman walked by, older gentleman. Right away, I said, "Sir, excuse me, our lobby is closed." He looked at me, stepped away, went on up to standing there and watching him. So he turned around, he come back. I said, "That's what I was trying to tell you, that the door was locked." "Oh, I didn't understand what you were saying." "Oh, you so understood what I just said now." You know, it's just little stuff like that that you experience on a daily basis. When I first moved up here in Duluth in 2000, jobs. You know, you go and apply for these jobs, you see the ad in the paper. You go there, we're not hiring. One incident I experienced, I was going through this program and I had someone helping me. So she took me up to World's Food up on Central Entries. They was hiring for a butcher because I got 7 years experience working in a slaughterhouse. We goes up there, I go in there, we not hiring, their position been filled. She was like, "Oh, wow." She goes right in there. They gave her application, set her up, and then she had me come back in the store. She was like, "Well, this is my client here. He was just in here," and all of a sudden they were done. They didn't want to talk anymore. You know, so this is something that you deal with on a everyday. You know, I mean, you get looked at a certain way. Women put the pocketbook on the other side of their shoulder. If you walk in, they look back, see you. You know, because they automatically assume because you're African American that you finna do some kind of crime or something. You know, don't get me wrong, I doesn't judge all people. You know, because I know everybody is not like that. It's just certain individuals that I don't know what their problem is. They could have been born that way. Who knows? I don't care. You know, another experience I experienced just recently here. I'm like, McDonald's is black. It's the whole lot is nothing on, you know. So I'm like, okay, I seen that before, you know. Cause sometimes we have electrical problem, so they shut all the lights off, so people won't be just keep driving through, and they got to keep turning them away. They just assume it's dark. So I seen the officer at the light when I came off 35W. I crossed. They had the red light. I crossed. When I get up the hill and go into the lot, I see them going down London Road, but they watching me. I can tell they going about 3 miles an hour. So they goes on down the road. I goes through the drive-through because I can look in the window and see if anybody in there. So I'm like, okay, ain't nobody here. I'm about 15 minutes early. So I go and park in the lot. Next thing you know, I see them coming up the driveway, but they got all lights off. You know, they comes up, they gets up to the car, right away, boom, light up my car. You know, I get out, got my hands up, got my cellular phone in one hand, got my piece of paper with my ID on there. You know, and he goes, it was a lady and a gentleman. You know, and he goes, so sir, what business you have here in this parking lot? Well, one, I'm standing here, I got my uniform on. So I obviously tell you I'm an employee here, but I didn't say anything because that's one thing I know I do not do. I don't mouth off at an officer. I give him my ID, I'm done. You do what you need to do. Once I hear it come back over your walkie-talkie, say clear. You can hand me back my ID, I can go on about my day. That's just another way it affected me. But back to the story I would tell you about McDonald parking lot. So once I told him I work here, I was like, we got truck supposed to be here at 6 o'clock. I'm going on and on. So they was pretty good officers. They wasn't. She thought it was funny because she told me I could put my hands down. No, I'm not putting my hands down. Because I didn't see too many people get shot and killed for cellular phone, hair brushes, wallets, all of this old stuff. So I kept my hand up. She was smiling. She said, sir, you can put your hands down. I'm not putting my hands down. But like I said, they was nice. But at the same time, it affected me. I'm scared. You can make the wrong move, reaching for your wallet, you get shot. Or it looked like he had a weapon. But then, like I said, they was pretty nice officers. They was like, well, they didn't do no checks and none of that. They was pretty much just like, okay, well, you go ahead and get a hold of someone because I have my GM on speed dial. I would call her. She would verify that I work here. And then he went on and telling me about, oh, did you know about the curfew? I was like, sir, I'm in bed by 7 o'clock. I'm sorry, I didn't look at the news. He was like, yeah, it went into effect last night. Don't supposed to be out to 6 a.m. And I was like, okay, thank you. So that's how I deal with the racism that I run into. It's just mentally, I just know don't do anything stupid. Don't reach for anything. I doesn't mouth back off. I already have my ID in my hand. Even if I'm walking down the street and they stop me, as soon as that car pull over, they coming for you. Or they want to ask you some question right away, get the ID out. And that's just how this racism have affected me. These are things I have to do that most people don't even have to do that. Probably don't even think of doing that. Like keeping your ID up over your visor. So that's just how I deal with the racism. And like I say, this stuff been going on for years. So it's almost like normal because we're not expecting nothing to happen. Oh, they just killed another African American. They tie these cases up in court, 3, 4, 5 years. Then all of a sudden it pops up on the news real quick. Or the 3 officers that was indicted over here have been acquitted. You don't hear nothing else about it. So this is the kind of thing you expect. When something happen like that, it'll get tied up in court, and here they go. So, and with that, I'm going to pass on to someone else.
Give him a hand. Who wants to go next?
I guess I can go next.
Karen? Then you, Phil.
Hi, my name is Karen. I just want to start out by saying racism starts in the home. It's taught in the homes. And the reason why I say that is because I look at the way I was raised. I used to play with white dolls. I never knew the difference in the skin color. I remember me and my brothers and sisters, the buses didn't run in our neighborhoods. I was born in the 60s also. So we didn't have buses and stuff.
Mic up just a little bit more.
I'm sorry.
Your mic up a little bit more.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So what I was saying is I remember going to school and we had to climb hills to get to the top, to walk 2 miles just to get to the bus. And my school was predominantly, white kids, and I never knew the difference in the skin color because it wasn't taught in my home. But I look at a situation when I moved here 2 years ago, actually in 2018, I stayed at the Residence Inn, and I experienced a situation. Reason why I say it's taught in the home, me and the guy that I work with, we was on our way to work. Actually, we was going to stop downstairs and eat and then go to work. So we walking towards the elevator. So the white man grabs his daughter's hand and he jerked her and said, "Come on before those ends get to the elevator." I mean, it was just so hurtful. The guy I was with, he just started crying, and I told him, just don't even worry about it. Just pray for him. You don't want to say nothing back to him because then you'll be like him. it's just a hurtful feeling, to go through something like that. And not only that, just going into the stores and standing there. Me and Robert was in line, and then this other person was behind us. So the cashier just overlooked us like we was invisible, and he asked the lady that was behind us if he could help her. And we just standing there like, okay, did he not see us? It just was so wrong. So, I mean, we stayed. When I got up to the counter, he waited on us. I still gave him a smile and told him have a good day. And then there has been other times, when you go into stores and stuff, you hand the people your money, and then when they give you your change back, they slam it down on the counter, okay? That's not how I gave you my money, so I expect for you to treat me the way I treated you. It's just so, I hate to talk about it because I get really emotional, and, just like the George Floyd situation, me and Robert was sitting there watching that on, on my phone, and to see that man just hollering out for help, y'all, I'm telling you, I just started crying because I'm emotional. I cry at sad movies, so to see that happening to that man, I've never witnessed anybody dying, and to see that life just sucked out of that man like that, it just, so much hate filled me, y'all, and I'm not the type of person that hate, but y'all, I'm sorry, but, so much hate just filled my body, and, it takes you out of your character, it just takes you out of your character. You don't know what to do. You don't know, should I stay on this side with God, or do I be like them? It's just so hurtful, and I'm gonna just give the mic to somebody else because I know I ain't gonna be able to talk, but it just takes you out of your character, and it just messes with your mind. So, but I don't know.
You ready, Phil?
Yes.
Take that mask off.
Hello. My name is Phil. I just moved up here maybe about 3 years ago. I'm really from Illinois. I used to stay in Chicago for a length of time. I'm really from New Orleans, but I stayed in Chicago practically all my life. Then I moved from Chicago and moved to suburbs of Illinois. And then my wife wanted to change, so we moved down this way. We ain't know nothing about no Duluth. I ain't never heard about no Duluth. I heard about St. Paul and Minneapolis, but Duluth, and I'm asking them, where we going? I mean, Duluth, what is that, So, what I'm saying, we came down here, and I like it, what I'm saying. The hills and the weather, they can keep, but everything else is all right, But I want to get to George. What they did was so unacceptable. I mean, they got bad apples in every state with police. Every state, bad apples. I mean, you just got to wing them out. I don't know how they gonna try to wing them out, but every state of police departments, they got bad apples. They got racism, where they don't like blacks for no apparent reason. No apparent reason. And it might go back in slavery days when they people hated blacks. So they gonna pick up and start, don't have a reason to hate us. No reason at all. And I feel, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't feel like no minority. I feel like I'm a majority because I work with that man upstairs. And as long as I work with him, can't nobody touch me. I'm untouchable. See what I'm saying? This the flesh. Yeah, you can kill the flesh. You know what I'm saying? The flesh is weak anyway. That's why they do what they do, because the flesh is weak. They don't know better. And they're not going by the guidelines and policies that God set out here for us. That's why he died for our sins. See what I'm saying? Because he knew the flesh was weak. He knew, you know what I'm saying, how we was going to lead this earth. Self-destruct, killing each other, women having women, man having man, you know what I'm saying, doing all this okay. All that's in the Bible, in Revelation. Before we was even thought about, it was wrote. So I look at it like this, and then the way it happened over a $20 bill, a phony $20 bill. How did they know? That man, somebody could have gave him that money. A $20 bill, you could get a $20 bill and a real $20 bill, and you can't tell the difference unless you got a marker. They got the marker, they can mark their money, and if the mark turn gold, it's real. If it turn black, it ain't good. They gonna sit up here, you know what I'm saying, and do over their job by arresting that man. And the man wasn't resisting. They already had him handcuffed. They had put him in the car and everything. They doing something, wrestling with him in the car, but that was hate, and that was the devil. See what I'm saying? But the way I was raised, I know it's a lot of hatred. But like I say, back to my father, you know what I'm saying? When you're working with him, you look over that. You know what I'm saying? And he covers you in the blood. Can't nothing touch you once you're covered in the blood. You talking about it's racial up here. It's a lot of it going on in Chicago, a lot of killing. I'm talking about senseless killing. I mean, all y'all sitting in this church right now, I can take you to Chicago for 1 hour in a neighborhood and you'll cry to come back here. I'm talking about when they named it, you know what I'm saying, Chirac, that's what it is right now, Chirac. You know what I'm saying? You can't get no argument with young boys. Young boys 12, 13, 14, 15, carrying guns bigger than them. If they bump you, you better not say, man, what's up? Can't you say, excuse me? No, because they're going to blow your brains out. Don't front them off in front of their friends because they're going to kill you. They don't respect their mamas. They don't respect their elders. They gone. And it's like they don't have no control. It's not enough police in Chicago to control that because the city too big. It's over 10, 12 million people. Come on, man. They can't control that, but they trying, you know? So it's racism everywhere. But what they did to George, it brought cold chills through my body, and it brought me back the way how Martin Luther King got. Because when they killed him, you know what I'm saying, God forbid he had to sacrifice his life, but the Lord made sure that he made a statement. He made a statement with his life for something to be done. And when they say no justice, no peace, I'm with that. I'm not with the looting. What they did in Minneapolis and all these cities, they was bogus. All they was doing was hurting themselves. What about their kids? What about the elders? The same stores they burning up, looting and everything, that's the same store. They got to go back the next day. They just destroying their neighborhood. All police ain't bad. I'm not going to put it like that. All police is not bad because I got a police officer up here, me and him like this here. You should know him. His name is Jeremy O'Connor. Yes, that's my buddy. Me and him is Jimmy Jam. He go fishing, bring me fish, come to my barbecues. Oh, the skin color, it don't matter to me. I got a Mexican friend, don't speak a lick of English, but he come over my house and kick it. I don't understand what he's saying, but he be doing hands, gestures, and I understand him. But me and him is cool, so whatever nationality and whatever color you is, that's irrelevant to me. I'm blind to that. It's where your heart at. It's how you is. And even if you're an ignorant individual, God gave you 6 senses. And you know what that 6th sense is? Common sense. If you know better, do better. See what I'm saying? But on the same token, I done been through a lot in my life, and I'm still here to talk about it. And I don't question God, because God kept me here for a reason, not for no season. And I'll be 60 next year. See what I'm saying? And I'm happy, you know what I'm saying? And I'm blessed for it. See what I'm saying? But it's going to stop. It got to stop. It got to stop that racial stuff. And it's not just with the police. You know what I'm saying? All occupations got bad apples in them. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just the police. You know what I'm saying? It's just the police is highlighted now because they got the authority and they could do more and try to get away with it and be brushed under the rug. See what I'm saying? But like I say, all police is not bad. You know what I'm saying? They not. I done met some nice, cool ones. Give you breaks, talk to you, kick it with you, all that. And then some areas, if you know some police and your neighborhood friends see you talking to police, they think you're a stool pigeon. Where I come from in Chicago, you better not get to talking to no police and kicking it with no police. Because they thinking you telling something, especially if you stay on the block where they selling drugs. Man, what Phil talking to police for, man? Oh, man, that nigga stool pigeon, man, woo, 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 woo. And don't get me wrong, us black, and I'm learning to not to use that word a lot, but if you get around a lot of blacks that ain't sit up here and grafted the knowledge that they supposed to have and use the right pronunciation, you know what I'm saying, they wouldn't use it. But I have found myself using when I'm around, if we all of us, what's up, Mella? What's up, my nigga? But we don't think nothing of it. Now, if another person, white person come up, what's up, man? What's my nigga? You ready to fight? But that's just some people. Because like I said, I got white friends, I got Mexican friends, I got Puerto Rican friends, I got a couple of Native friends up here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's the individual, you know, and you just can't categorize everybody. You know what I'm saying? You can't put them all in the same boat. You can't. That's just like that chief of police in Atlanta when they killed that boy at that Wendy's. You know what I'm saying? Shot him in the back twice. You know what I'm saying? He was just sitting up here in this car. Now, he wasn't driving or nothing. But they overdid his part. But you know what the chief of police did? Chief of police quit. She resigned. She said she didn't want nothing to do with it because y'all doing too much. Y'all doing too much. You know what I'm saying? And she could have sit up here and stopped it, even though something deal when they had to have acting chief of police to come in and do her job. But it was too much for her. You know, this happened to George, and 3 weeks later, y'all doing this in my state? Y'all gonna shoot this man in the back and then hit another car with passengers in it. Even though the man was wrong for grabbing his taser, but a taser ain't gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? Even if he would have did, he was bogus for that, don't get me wrong. But I mean, this man pulled out his gun and shot him 3 times in his back. One went to his back and came out his heart. That was, I seen that man, I'm like, I say, when is it gonna stop, Lord? When is it gonna stop? And I hope they get a handle on it soon, you know what I'm saying, really, because if it don't, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna turn out bad. The African Americans, I ain't gonna say all of them because I don't got time for it. I don't got time for it. But by me being an Afro American, I'm part of the problem. You see what I'm saying? But if it don't stop, the African Americans ain't gonna care about police, ain't gonna care about white people. They just gonna go ham, like they looting they neighborhoods and stuff. They just gonna go ham on white people, which I think is so wrong. But enough is enough. I mean, what a person supposed to do? Go places or do this and do that and get, you know what I'm saying, die. You know, it used to be a saying, my mama taught me, it used to be a saying, you here today, gone tomorrow. It ain't like that today no more. It's here today, gone today. See what I'm saying? And the world is wicked. I'm talking about wicked, wicked, man. So you have to do what you have to do. Keep God first. And do the right thing for the right reasons. You know better. If somebody approach you, people approach me the wrong way, I just look at them. And I say, Lord, just give me strength and walk away. I don't respond. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could feed off into their madness and get off into, for what? Whether it's the police, whoever it is. I don't have time for it because I'm bigger than them. They got to learn. They stupid to the fact. So if they stupid, you don't have to stoop like that. You know what I'm saying? So it bothers me a lot. It bothered me a lot when they killed George, and it really bothered me a lot when they killed that man in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Because that was 3 weeks after George died. Died from him leaning on his neck over a $20 bill. You know what I'm saying? They didn't know if that $20 bill was passed to him. He could have went to another store and got some change or bought something, and they gave him that $20 bill. Because some stores don't have the markers. A lot of stores, Walmart don't do it. Target don't do it. They don't have no markers. The little stores have the markers. But them big stores, because they don't have time to mark every bill. So it's easy to go in there and pass them a phony 100, a phony 20. All they going to do is give it back to the next person. So they was real foul. They overdid their job, and they was bogus. And they getting what they deserve, every bit of it. You know what I'm saying? Both of them, all 4 of them should get life. All of them, because the 3 that was standing around, they was just as bad as him, because they was watching him, and they could have jammed on his brakes. He could, man, you going too far, get up off his neck. They choose not to do that. So whatever the judge decide, you know what I'm saying? And I hope they do get disciplined for it, you know, but That's how I feel about the situation. And like, I just take life day by day, 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day at a time, because I ain't promised the next minute. But I know who I am promised to, that man upstairs. See what I'm saying? Yeah, but that's all I have to say.
Amen. Brother. Great. Who's next? Nyoka, then Jim. Yep. Hold it up real close, Nyoka.
No pressure, Pastor, no pressure. Okay, so you may hear Pastor refer to me as Nyoka, but everyone else calls me Nikki because no one can really pronounce Nyoka. I guess how I feel, I have mixed feelings about a lot of stuff that happens. I have two sons. I'll make it brief. We moved here in 2016 from Minneapolis because the neighborhoods and stuff was getting bad. Coming here, things didn't work out. Make a long story short, we ended up in Superior, which I had never heard of. I just heard of Duluth. So we set up, we got some real good help, got situated, got me a job, and I felt good about it because in my mind, I had got them from the bad place, which was majority black on black crime. So I said, we out of here because, you know, y'all can't have my kids. So we come here. And it's a shame that you got to feel bad. It's a shame that you feel bad for thinking that you're making a good choice for your children. And the reason why I say that is because Superior was just not open-minded enough in my mind, shall I say. My boys went through it more so than I did. They wasn't really accepted. They was from Minneapolis. They had different hair, different clothes. They talked different. They walked different. And so they stuck out like thorns. The good part about it is they stand on what they believe in. They confident. They're smart because that's how they've been taught. But they like everybody. Minneapolis is pretty diverse. And so they wasn't as closed-minded. They know people from Sierra Leone, Somalia, Hmong, Cambodia, and so they was just like, what's wrong with him? You know, what's wrong with these kids? But some of them has been born and raised, and they don't know no different. And so they've been taught this at home. And so they were not able to accept what they did not know. And some people can say that it's ignorance, but I believe a lot of it is fear, because when you don't know something, sometimes it scares you. And sometimes change scares you. So everybody cannot adapt and adjust, which is where I have a hard time, because us as black people, we can. I'm the only black person at my job. And I go in there and I rock it every time I go, because I'm Nikki. How y'all doing? I work in the healthcare field. I have 54 residents. I take care of one person that look like me. Everybody else, they look like you guys. And so I say, you can't judge me, because I might be taking care of your mama. Don't judge me, because I'm in here taking care of your grandparents. And I can judge you, because I can say, they did good by you, what you put them in here for. But who am I? I don't know your situation, just like you don't know mine. And I say that to say, because sometimes when they come to the job to visit their parents, when they looking for the nurse, they may be looking for little old Sarah over here. And then, surprise, here she go. How you doing? Don't count me out at the bottom of the barrel, because my title might be at the top too. You understand? So it's hard when you think that you made a right choice and brought them to a better environment, but then my own kind put me in a messed up situation because I'm scared for them with them too. So then what do? You take it one day at a time. You leave it in God's hands. My boys, I'm going to sum it up with this because I'm going to get too emotional. My son, I have a biracial grandson. My son has a white girlfriend, and they was going on a double date. He was 16, and it got stopped. Let's just say it got ugly. My son ended up on the ground, and my son was athletic, and so he's strong. But once again, he's verbal. He's very verbal. And he's been stopped, and he's been trained, so he's been taught, so he know. Yes, sir. No, sir. I don't have to. This is that. This is that. Okay? But it's sometimes it's a superior thing. It's an authority thing, and I get it, because we go through it as parents with children. So when you doing your job and you doing the best that you can, at that time, you'll know what kind of day that man has had. So he may not have time for the mouthing off. But why we got to be taught not to mouth off when I really could be right and you could be wrong? And I just want to get my point across. But when you've been taught, you don't run from them, you do what they tell you to do, and you keep your mouth closed. Simple. He could not because he was in the right. There was no reason if the driver gave you all of her information, I'm a passenger in the back, why do I have to get out of this car? And he did not want to. He ended up on the ground. The other young man got out of the car to check on him in the back to see what was going on. He ended up on the ground. I met with the chief of police, the NAACP. Let's just say sums it all up. It worked itself out. But why did I have to come and feel helpless? Why my baby had to be treated like that? Because he did not do the things that you told him to do in the manner that you would have liked for him to do. But at the same time, he was right. The chief of police said he was right. But no apology. The officer, I didn't want anything in return but for them to come in that room and look me and my son in our face and tell him that you are sorry. Because when I release him into the public, when I can't help him and protect him, I believe that the police will do so. You understand? And so it's kind of like I said, I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like that the white officers and white people should stop killing us, and I feel like black kings and queens stop killing them too. How can we get so mad? We so angry when we see the police do it to us. I need us to be just as angry when we do it to each other. And I just think that with the George Floyd thing, I think that there's hope. I think that there's something that's gonna come out of this. Already, all those officers were fired and charged. That's progress compared to back when it was happening before. And I don't think that all police is bad. I stayed. You know, I could have ran. I could have been afraid. I live in Superior right now. My son is raising his own little family, and he got his own little place. I got another 17-year-old. He goes to work. And I trust the fact that everything will be okay. You have to, unless you'll drive yourself crazy, worrying yourself about it all the time. And I'm gonna end with this too. It's sad because before I used to be so worried about the black men. And now it's kind of sad because it's people like Sandra Bland that make us aware that a black woman is no different. When before I used to think that it's just them you got to worry about. Nope, because if I'm driving, I can honestly say I hate seatbelts. I hate them. Hey, no, I got to breathe. I can't breathe. I feel constricted, you know, and everything. So, but the minute I can see him, he could be going this way, and I could be coming this way. And this is well, and you get nervous. You think he saw me? You think he saw me? And it's like you ain't do, you know, and it's you could have license and insurance and registration. You know you ain't doing nothing wrong, but you get heart palpitations. Soon as I see him, I breathe, and it's like, oh, Lord, I hope he ain't finna get me. We call them party lights when we see him. Oh, there go them party lights. I could be going that way. I could be in the right. I'm going to tell you, I promise I'm going to take another route. I'm not even going to bother. I don't even want to be bothered with it. I don't want him to leave the person he might have bothered with and then come and get me. And so I just think with prayer, education, communities coming together, I think that we're going to be all right. It's 2020. It got to get better. If we already been on the bottom, the only way from here is to the top.
Jim, you ready?
Yes. My name is James Hill.
Talk right into that mic, Jim.
My name is James Hill. Is it on? All right.
Real close.
I've been here about 10, 12 years. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota. But what have I experienced in the 78 years that I've been on this earth? Half of my life, every day I woke up, I gave thanks. But I wasn't guaranteed the rest of the day. Not that I was doing anything bad, but just the color of my skin. And that just rubbed me the wrong way. What can I do? Where can I go to feel safe? Because half of my life I spent in fear. And it angered me just because of the color of my skin. There was something wrong with that. I mean, really wrong. Why do I have to fear and be scared to do the things that I felt that I wanted to do as long as I wasn't breaking the law? It hurt. It made me angry. And then when the 60s came, it scared me to death because I thought the end was coming. It's going to happen. We're going to be slaughtered just because of the color of our skin. But there was men like Martin Luther King, Barack Obama. There were some strong men saying some strong things, and it penetrated me. For half of my life, I hated myself just because of the color of my skin. I was angry. I was mad. Why did these things got to happen? And the fear that I got to live, it was overwhelming. And I got addicted to the drugs. Because the 60s, I thought, was going to be the end, just the way things were going. I mean, it was bad in the 60s. Yeah. I was born in 1940. But in 1959, I began to realize there's something bad is going to happen, and it sure enough did. I can't even walk around the block without somebody throwing stuff at me out of the car and calling me all kinds of names. Don't even know me. I'm walking in my neighborhood. I'm getting things thrown out of the car at me and all kind of verbal abuse. I said, no, man, no. Give me the drugs. Just let me drug myself on out of here. I can't handle it because I'm going to do something I'll probably be sorry for. All because I just wanted to live and be okay. I wanted to love everybody because I was taught when I was young from my parents, you love, you forgive, and you move on. You know, but there comes a time you're saying, man, I'm getting tired of this. Why do I have to do this and why do I have to do that? At night when I leave my house just to go for a little walk, will I make it back? I shouldn't have to live like that. I shouldn't have that kind of fear in me. Why is it? No, I refuse. You had me on the drugs. I got over it. Praise the Lord. I came through a lot, man. I came through a lot and I saw a lot and it hurted me every time I saw it. But what could I do? I was mad because I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I wanted to live just like everybody else and be treated just like everybody else. But that wasn't going to happen. But you know what? Hate gets you nowhere. Hate will get hate. And love will give love. And a multitude of love on top of that. And that's why I'm here today. Somehow I got it in my spirit. Regardless how much you hate me, how much you say this, and how much you do that to me, guess what? I'm just going to love on you just that much more. And that was my antidote. Love will cover a multitude of things. So I got into the love business. But I had to start loving myself. Because half of my life, I was angry at me. I was angry at the color I was. I was angry because I couldn't say my ABCs until I was 12 years old. It was just, I'm nobody. At least that's what I thought until somebody says, you are somebody. And I want you to do something. And it took me a long time to figure it out. But what he wanted me to do was once start loving myself and forgiving myself for what I thought and felt. God said, I didn't make you to feel that way. But I learned something. That word love will cover a multitude of things. Even when you're being abused, you're going to say, I'm going to love you anyway. And because of me knowing that and saying that at times, saved my life. I mean, I had guns to my head. You took my drugs. You did this. You did that. How did I get out of that one? South side of Chicago. Walgreens drugstore. I used to go in there and get my Robitussin. I used to work on the railroad. That's how I got to Chicago. Drank my Robitussin. Got my little place and saying it's gonna be showtime. And I just watched people going up and down the street, going through all kinds of just all kinds of things going on. I had my little popcorn. It was showtime. But why? Why do I feel that I'm no good? Why am I mad because I'm black? Why is all these things happening to me just because I'm black and I can't walk in my own neighborhood and feel safe? Matter of fact, it wasn't too long ago, my son came over to visit me and it got kind of dark and I said, well, son, I'm gonna do my little walk. He jumped up and said, no, Dad, no, you're not going out at night. Forget it. I'm here. You don't need to. And I said, son, why can't I? And in his own way, he broke it down to why you can't. And he was right. Because just the color of my skin, going out for a peaceful walk, and a bunch of the evildoers saw me and started throwing things out of the car at me and just verbally abused me in my neighborhood. Yeah, well, what can you do, Jim? And I had to keep trying to process that. I feel the anger rising up. I want to do something. I want to hurt somebody. I just want to do something. And then I realized, what good does it do, Jim, if you did? Is it going to solve anything? I'm going to make it kind of short. I've been through some things. I've been in places that I had no business being, but I was able to get out of it. I'm going to leave it like this. Scared, hurt, angry. But I had this deep compassion of love. My dad and my mama, stepmom, my brothers and sisters, taught me something about love. And I hang on to it this day. And I'm just going to say this. Scott Lyons, when he was the police chief here, and Emily Larson, I remember we was out to Washington Center or something. We was talking about something. And it came up that I couldn't get the job at Lincoln Park because of a record I had way back in the 1960s. Scott says, Jim, I'll take care of that. I'm gonna seal your records, sponge it. You're gonna get the job at Lincoln because that's where we want you to be. I said, well, how did he know, you know? But he knew. He wanted me at Lincoln Elementary School because Lincoln Elementary School was having some problems. And sure enough, I got the job at Lincoln School. And I'm gonna leave you with this. There was a young boy was trying to get into his locker, and he couldn't. And he was raising havoc out in the hallway. And I knew classes was getting ready to come out. And there was gonna be a lot of kids out here. I had to do something. I just walked over to him and said, could I help you? What I heard that little boy say was the first thing is, nigger, you can't tell me what to do. How dare you? I'll go home and get my daddy, and he just went off on me. I mean, calling me names that I even never heard of before. Oh, he was angry. He was just ticked, and I could see it. But I knew I had to do something because the bell was getting ready to ring, and it had been all these kids out in the hallway. This kid is going off. And I just let him go there for a minute, and then I said, are you through? He looked at me. I said, the more you talk bad to me, the more you say bad things to me, and what you're going to do, and you're going to tell your father, and you're going to just blah, blah. You know what I'm going to do? And I looked him dead in the face. I'm just going to love on you just that much more. Because of the way you say things to me to hurt me, I'm going to love you just that much more. So now what is it going to be? I mean, he looked at me like, did I really hear what he just got through saying? He's going to love on me, and I done told him. I said things to him he probably never heard before. I mean, he was going off on me. But when I said that, I felt relief. I felt I got the victory. And as I was coming in to the school the next day, guess who was at that door saying, and he called me, Mr. Hill, I'm sorry, and I'll never do that again. And he walked me all through the hallways where I had to do what he was right there. You see, love will overcome a lot of things. And as being black, we had to come through a lot of things. But you know what? We're still here. Our job is not done. And we got to give the antidote. And the antidote is L-O-V-E. Love will cover the hurt, the pain, and all that goes with it. As Martin Luther King says, we shall overcome.
You up? Go ahead, Rach.
Hello, my name is Rachel. So Pastor asked us to speak about just our feelings and our thoughts surrounding the death of George Floyd. And so we've heard a lot of wonderful perspectives here, and so I don't know. So first of all, I'd like to say I've only seen parts of the video because stuff like that will like scar me forever. I'm mentally fragile, which is really interesting being a historian because I have a deep sense of empathy for things. Sorry. Oh, okay. So for one, yeah, this is really hard, right? Talking about your feelings in front of people. Yeah. There's a lot. So a lot of feelings on a lot of levels in a lot of different directions for me. I work with students at St. Scholastica. I'm the advisor for the Black Student Union. I am myself biracial. I've grown up in Florida. I've grown up in Duluth, Minnesota. So I feel like I have a lot of perspectives. I moved around a lot in my life. I've never stayed in one place for more than 2 years. And so I feel like I have a lot of perspectives on this. And for one, for me being a historian, like just hearing about it, it was, kind of like, okay, here we go again. When's it gonna stop? Like we're in 2020, like, the riots and everything, that's modern civil rights happening in the middle of COVID. And so a lot of the discussions I've had with my students have been surrounding questions like this, why did it become so great, so big now? What was the impetus that this had to happen, and it's really interesting hearing all of the different levels on that. But for one, I think it was an egregious waste of authority. I mean, it was completely unnecessary, unjust. I mean, the actions were way more, it was just a flagrant, perspective of hate. He was just like, you know what? I don't care. So, and I think for like my generation, a lot of younger people, and I can't speak for everybody, but from what I've heard and like from me, someone was literally murdered in broad daylight on the street. Like, when do you go out and you're just like, oh, someone's being murdered right now? It's just like, wow, so, and then you just see the life leave. Like, he's just, oh, okay, all right. And then it's like everyone just goes about their day. It's like, okay, people go home, yeah, today was a rough day at work. Sorry, I'm getting really sarcastic, but it's a perspective, right? So like, what were the people thinking who were on him? What was he thinking? What were the people around him thinking? How, it's not just the Black community affected. It's literally the world seeing America for what America is, with its systems and the way it functions, growing and being based on the way that it was founded as a place for the oppression of certain people and the, heightening of others. And that's what we have today. And 2020, it's interesting, right? It's like, because I'm really interested about the next president. It gets political, it gets racial, it gets economic, it gets, stratified by race, gender. Like, I certainly have experienced other things than what my counterparts here have experienced in my own young life, being biracial. It's like people would always look, and whatever. I'm not getting into all that, but it's an interesting perspective. And when Pastor was like, let's just talk about it, I'm like, whoa, you better like kind of narrow that down, because you're gonna get this onslaught of literally like spaghetti everything. And so that's just kind of what's in my mind. And for me to like talk about that and digest it, it would be like this, except longer and more like, animated, because it's a passion for me. And so, this justice that, these students that I work with, us young people, we have this like, okay, we have now officially said, like, we are done with this happening for generations of our families, like, and you want to talk about perspectives, it's like, if you were to take a view, how much intergenerational trauma would each side of this room have? And we could probably say from this side, we're carrying a lot more trauma than that side, and and that's what also plays into it. So when you talk about things, and it's like, why do people get so mad, blah, 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 blah. It's like, dang, 1619 Project, sorry. It's like 400 years. America needs to get its systems together. It has to understand that we are a generational melting pot of every ethnicity. This is not a white founding fathers land owning 35 and older place, where systems were created. So I take a perspective of historical view. I read a lot, so a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is through a lens of, I guess, academia, trying to take the emotions into a more stronger lens or something. But I mean, what I hope to get out of it, what I've been just mentioning to people is, police have a really tough job, right? And not every police officer is a bad one. Thank God we have police, because there are some really bad situations when we really need help. And thank God for those people. And that's one thing that I'm, and knowing first responders and just hearing, you come into messy situations. You carry trauma with you from your job. And so, I'm no guns, more therapists. I don't understand why cops have guns. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. The amount of what I see and hear, and it's misuse of a weapon. Okay, what do you need weapons that kill people for? What about non-lethal weapons? Why has everyone got to be dying all the time? Yeah, so anyways, and then, so I don't understand the killing, the murder, the anger. I say the police, first responders, need to have, unlimited health therapists. There need to be, millions of therapists hired, because I think it's both sides, right? I never like to see bias, obviously, but, these people, I'm not making excuses for people, but I know that in situations of that nature, those jobs are rough, and police do get a bad call. Yes, there's great ones. Yes, there's not great ones. Just like there's great doctors, there's not great doctors, great lawyers, and so I think the thing that needs to be focused on is the fact that systems need to be changed and resolutions need to happen. There need to be rectifications, justifications. These people should not be going free. It's be accountable. All three of you were there. Did three of you really need to be on top of him? Sensibly, any logical, sensible person could see that didn't need to happen. But why did it happen? Hate, right? Hate. For some reason, he just felt the need to just keep doing what he was doing. And I think he, wasn't thinking about the ramifications that this would have. And it's really interesting. It's modern civil rights, right? Other countries are getting in on this, and it's big, it's political, it's global. I don't know what's gonna happen. I hope, especially with the people in Atlanta, I'm really rooting for these civil rights lawyers working on this case right now, and this family, it's just, yeah, and even, Brian Stevenson and Just Mercy and all of this, it's been out there. Martin Luther King, he said it. These systems have been created, and they are unequal and unjust. And yeah, you get Brown versus Board of Education. You get, yeah, but separate, but it's no. I mean, look at everything. And so, and then, yeah, I see the thing, right? You grow up in places where you have no choice of being born in, but you got to deal with it in that situation and make the best out of it within the system that is trying to oppress you, that you're trying to advance out of. But yet you're being called, oh, she's getting money from this and that, and now I'm just getting into whatever. But it is hurtful. It's excuse you, who the hell do you, say you are, when you have no judgment or anything on my life, what I've been through, what I've had to deal with, and now you want to come in here and tell me about me and whatever. And so it's a thing. It's very mental. It's very psychological. I think it takes a long time to process, but I think a lot of it is just compartmentalization. You're like, okay, yeah, he made some offhand comment because he didn't know any better. I forgive you. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the education, it's what it is. Like, yeah, it's just education. I hope comes out of this. I hope like police reform comes out of this. I hope deeper civil rights come out of this. I think also being in Duluth, it's a very unique place because I also grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, which is, I never really was in Minneapolis, but there was like everybody. It was a melting pot, and there was even racism down there, blacks and Cubans, like Mexicans and blacks. Like, there's different kinds of racism, but I think the point is the use of authority in an unjust way is the issue, and specifically within this community. And so I hope it, I'm hopeful, I'm always an optimist. I see it as the future. The future is good because I know the Lord is sovereign. Like, yes, George sacrificed his life, as did many others, because that's the way the Lord had it, because that's the way it needed to be done. Because if George didn't die, excuse me, I have a dry throat. Like, maybe none of this would have happened in the way that it needed to. And so I think trusting in the Lord and knowing that the Lord is, and God and Jesus are, the Holy Spirit are here with us and to carry us through, and especially with COVID, and then it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like a layer cake of like pandemonium happening, and so what do you do in a time like that? And I think it's really important to just hunker down in that Bible and just like pray, I don't know, like whatever gets your soul as far away from all of this earthly strife as possible. I think that's one way that I've been really able to process things, is by saying like, Lord, this had to happen. Like, I read these horrible things in history, I see these horrible things happening, but you are you, and I can't say nothing to you, and you take care of us, and we love you, and we trust you. In your name we pray, amen. And so I think having a strong faith in the Lord has been really helpful, and I've been praying, and it's traumatic. It's very traumatic. Like, a lot of my students in the communities I work with are just like, and they have families who are in demonstrations, and you hear all this stuff, and you get kind of like second, I forget what they call it, was like second trauma or something, like after, hearing the trauma from whatever, and it's interesting talking to people about all this, like post-traumatic slave syndrome, and like all these books, and it's interesting, and it's like it's been like known, but it's not taught. And I think hopefully the education systems will start getting up to speed on things, because now things like African American curriculum and Native curriculum and all of these academic and educational things are coming about, and that's where it starts. So many people for so many generations were denied education, and that's the result of it. We get things like where we're at, not saying that specifically happened, but I mean, whatever. So it's a lot. So thank you for listening.
Good job, Rach. Chris?
We're done now, right?
If you're willing, we got one more to share here. One more perspective.
No laughing at my mustache. We can't have beards anymore. First off, my name's Chris, and I'd like to thank all of you guys. Just listening to all your perspectives, and that gives me new insight, I guess. So a little bit about myself. I'm from Duluth. I will say it, even though I'm on the Denfeld side right now. I'm an East guy. I did marry a Denfeld girl, so we evened out. From Duluth, grew up here. I moved away for 6 years. I became a police officer in Casper, Wyoming. Why there? Because they hired me. So I was a police officer out there. Some family things happened. Moved back here, got hired on with Duluth, so I've been now with Duluth for 3.5 years. So 2 different departments, 2 totally different states. I've said this in all of my interviews that I've had. People ask, what do you do if you go to this situation or this situation? If it's a black person, a white person, a Native American. With police, we go where there's crime. Crime doesn't have a color in my mind. And I know that obviously they're like James had said earlier, about there's departments that there are bad people in it, You get that with any profession, If you've had, a simple one is a waitress. If you've gotten bad service at, say, Perkins, are you going to treat every waitress that you go to the same way? My guess is probably not. A lot of times with our profession as, the police, someone has had a bad encounter with us, that stays with them. I may have never met you before, but you're going to, because you had that one bad encounter, I'll try and change your mind. I probably won't, but, like Karen said, it's the way you're raised. It starts at home. I know that's the way that my parents raised me. You do right, and things will be fine, Jeez, it's hard to follow you guys. You're also good speakers. Rachel touched on how, police, you don't know where they've come from the call before. We do anything and everything. I know that there's a talk of, maybe more social workers, maybe, less, like she said, firearms and that. Well, we do a lot of social working in this department here. We do wear many hats. I've gone to calls where I'll try and be blunt, but, where I've just come from a deceased child. And I've been on that call for 2, 3, 4 hours, and I'm expected to get in a car and go solve somebody else's problem that calls in. So there is a lot of carryover. We try not to do that. What else can I tell you? What's that?
I don't know, I've always, you know how we talk about how we worry about when we get stopped and when we get pulled over and how we interact. Like, I wonder for you guys if your families are scared for you. Like about when you guys will make it back home. And about like an alliance, a team. I'm a part of a team. And it's kind of hard to say your teammate is doing wrong or don't do that or I don't agree. So is that a struggle a lot of times within the police department, trying to not so much still believe in what you believe in and still be a part of this alliance, this team, even though you got the bad seeds? That must be difficult.
Like a duty to intercede if someone's going above and beyond, and knowing that, hey, this is wrong, yes, you do need to step in. I'm not going to sit here and talk policies or anything like that, but that is a policy that the Duluth Police Department does have. If you see someone that's going above and beyond, you need to step in and, hey, you go over here, I'll deal with this, that type of thing. Worried about coming home and that. Before all this happened, like I said, I have 9.5 years as a police officer. My wife says not once she's worried about me going out, coming back. Once this all happened, we have an American flag that we fly in front of our house that has the blue line on it. She wanted to take it down. She didn't know what was going to happen with all this. She had heard, unfortunately nowadays with media, they spin it one way, and then they're just going to tell you one side of it. So she had heard that some people were going to come up here and riot, and they were going to go to the rich part of town and just cause havoc, and she was scared. She wanted to take the flag down. She did take it down for 2 days, but it's back up now. And like traffic stops and that, James, like you said, if you've gotten pulled over for something, you keep your hands up and you have your piece of paper. I don't know what you're going through. I'm not going to sit up here and say I know that, what you were going through as well, Jim. I know it's got to be rough. If I'm going to stop a vehicle, and this is me, I don't care if you're white, brown, black. The only reason I'm going to stop you is, hey, your taillight's out, or hey, you didn't stop at the stop sign. 95% of our traffic stops are just going to be an informational. We're going to stop you, hey, your taillight's out, do you have your insurance? Awesome, I'm just going to make sure everything's valid. Here you go. Have a good day. You got any questions for me? Any call that I go to, I started off, hey, I'm Chris. I know we never met before. I'm sorry we have to meet like this. People don't call us on your best days. How can I help you today? And if that's just standing there for 15, 20, 30, an hour of just letting you vent to me, if I can do that, awesome. You know, as far as like the social worker part, we try to do that. Unfortunately, with our call load, sometimes we may get, hey, unfortunately, I can't fix this right now. I got to throw a Band-Aid on it because my partners are out there and calls are stacking up, and we got to go help somebody else. This department does do a very good job of what's known as, we call them CEs, or community engagements. We'll go out, you know, the kids are riding bikes, they got their helmets on, here's your coupon for a Dairy Queen, you know. That stuff doesn't get put in the news. It gets put in the news where they're fighting with somebody at 6th Avenue East and 4th Street, or something out here in Lincoln Park. Just last week, so with our new COVID schedule, I'll tell you that I've worked patrol for 9 years. Just recently I moved up to investigations in September. March, that was put to the wayside, and they took everybody out of investigations and put us all back on patrol. So we did work 5 days on, 15 days off. Therefore, if we were exposed to COVID, you have the 14-day quarantine. So a lot of people are like, well, you only work 5 days. Well, they took this into consideration. Where I'm getting at with that is last week I had a call, it was a domestic. The dispatcher could actually hear one party hitting the other party on the phone and crying and comments and that. So we go out there, it was on the far side of the town, and we addressed the situation, handled it, did whatever we need to. There was some townhomes that were there, and one of my witnesses, she was a African American lady, so I spoke with her. She had I think her daughter had a 1.5, 2-year-old, and I said, hey, you know, when this is all done, I don't have any stickers, but you want a tattoo? She's like, oh yeah, I'll take a tattoo. So I dealt with the domestic, we got that all buttoned up. I came out of the house, and I'm not kidding you, there was 20 kids outside waiting for me for tattoos. So I told dispatch, hey, I'm code 4, put me on a CE, a community engagement. You know, I'm code 4 out here, and I played outside with the kids for probably longer than I should have. It was probably like half an hour, and we were just playing football and whatnot. There was actually a couple people that drove by and started to film it. I don't know what happened with that, but the one mother, she started, I can't remember how she phrased it, but she did say something along the lines with the Black Lives Matter, but she was referencing that, hey, you know, we got a police guy here, he's not doing anything to us, we're out here having a good time. Hopefully I got that across. I don't know if that made sense or not. What else can I tell you? You know, I did watch the video. It is appalling. And I'm not going to sit here second guess anything. I wasn't there. I don't know. But what you see it's terrible to watch. I don't know what happened specifically leading up to it or anything like that. I'm not saying what they did is right, wrong, or different, but terrible. It puts forgive me, a black mark on our profession. You know, now in my short career, I have noticed that we are trying to overcome the racial, and we've worked so hard to overcome it, and then now this happens, and we're way back. You know, it's just now dealing with people on the street. We get a call, I think it was 42nd Avenue West and Grand, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, guy walking down the street, he's screaming and hollering, cussing at everybody. We stop out with him, he was intoxicated, and it was a white male. He keeps his hands up saying that we're going to shoot him. Well, that's what they do in Minneapolis. No, we're not going to shoot you. Well, why are you stopping out with me? You're just doing this. Well, because you're screaming and you're cussing at cars, and can we help you in any way? Do you need a ride home? Do you need this? Do you need that? No. He was cussing and swearing, and Okay, you're good to go. Yes, we do take people's IDs and run them for warrants. We do that with anybody that we come in contact with. So we ran him, and he comes back clear. The whole time he's asking, why are you stopping me? Why are you stopping me? Again, you're screaming at people. We've had 3 phone calls on you. We're making sure that you're fine. You don't need any medical attention. Here's your driver's license. Have a good day. For 2 blocks, he still screamed and cussed at us, and, you know. And because of the profession, we do get called names. It's nowhere near what Jim has gone through. We do get called names. Just because of our profession, I do like donuts, sorry. We'll go to Subway because you can see them making your meal. I know some other officers have gone places and they've found interesting things in their sandwiches just because of their profession, which it is what it is. Man, I'm pausing a lot. You guys, I'm sorry. Again, I think it all comes back to how you're raised. I've gone to calls where parents are telling their 12, 13-year-old, 9, 5-year-olds, don't talk to the police. Police are bad. Police are going to take you away. No, we're not just going to show up at your house and take you away. That's not going to happen. We get called places because somebody made a bad choice, broke a law, did whatever. We're there to try and help. As cliche as it is, that is why I got in this profession, was to help people. It is nice driving fast as well, but if we're driving fast, it's for a reason. We're going to something. A lot of people will complain, well, this officer just was going 45 miles an hour through a 30-mile-an-hour zone. Well, you don't know, but probably 2 minutes before it, we had our lights and sirens on, and we like to, maybe if it's like a bank alarm, we're not going to tell the potential burglar that, hey, guess what, we're here, so our lights and sirens get shut off 2-3 blocks before so we can get there. Have I seen any racism in the 2 departments that I've worked in firsthand? I have not seen any personally. They've been 2 great departments. I know that Duluth's department is obviously predominantly white. There is several black officers, some Asian, but obviously it's predominantly white. There's a partner of mine, he's a black officer, and when this all started, I think it was the Saturday night, he was out on the street, and everybody was just giving him a hard time, telling him that he was a traitor, he's not on the right side, because he's black, he shouldn't be an officer, he should be out here, and he'll just tell people, he's like, if you think you're so good, come over here and you do it, and you make a difference. He goes, I got on this to help people. I'm not a traitor or anything like that. So that's my 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So.
Okay. I got something to say.
I just wanted to say, when I came here, I wanted to find me a church. I left this part out accidentally. And this was the first church I came to. And I was welcomed. I didn't know what I was walking into. I know I seen the cross and I seen the church, and I wanted to, visit God's house. So I came here and I met Eric. And ever since then, because that's what I say, everybody ain't bad. Eric is a good guy. He's a very good pastor, because I get out a lot of everything he be talking about. I get a lot out of it, you know what I'm saying? But he a good guy outside being a pastor, you know. He done been on my house, we done had barbecues, we done played spades, we done kicked it, you know. I mean, he's a good guy, and as long as I'm up here, I'm gonna keep coming here. That's all I gotta say.
Buddy. Thank you. Well, so it's 10 after 8. I was thinking we'd be done about 8, but I just also knew that, you know, with all you guys being able to come and all that's on your minds and hearts, that it was likely to go down like this. But I don't regret having asked you to share, leaving it relatively open-ended and allowing you to share. And I know you have so much more that could be said. And the same goes for everybody in our church. I mean, everybody's got perspective. Everybody's got thoughts. Everybody's got feelings and experiences. So right now, I just want to encourage us as a body to continue the conversation and to not be shy about asking, you know, one another, how are you doing? What are you thinking? You know, especially these guys that you've heard their stories, you know where they're coming from. The conversation doesn't need to end here, and I hope that it won't. So let's continue to develop that. But I think that, you know, for time's sake, we're already over. I would, though, love to just take a couple of questions. If you guys out there have some, let's just take a couple. We'll try to shut it down at 8:30, even if before. If you've got to go, feel free to go. Even you panelists, if you guys got to take off, take off. But I would hate to, you know, just leave it. I'm afraid, you know, part of me wants to stop it and maybe start it back up, but I think that could be tough. So I think let's take maybe a few minutes here, take a few questions, and then we'll go down. Yeah, Ben, go ahead. Ben, I'm going to reiterate what you said so that people can hear it. So what I hear you asking is people keep talking about the importance of raising up your kids the right way in regard to how to handle racism, etc. And so you were asking Karen directly, what would be your recommendation on how best to do that without marginalizing certain people? For you as a white dad, how do you talk about race without marginalization? So Karen, what would you, we use that mic, Karen, so everybody can hear you. Take your mask off too.
Actually, I just, I raised my daughter like my mom did me. Like I said, it starts in the home. And I never knew the difference, you know, in the color of the skin. Like I said, I went to an all-white school, and I never knew that these kids were white and I was black. I didn't learn that till I got of age. So I teach my daughter like that. You know, we read the Bible together, and I always teach her, Nikki, no matter what, you love everybody regardless of their skin color, because we are all one race, and that's the human race. Yeah. So I teach her like that. So that's my perspective on it.
What about any particular advice, Karen, to a white dad and a white Asian family in regard? Is there anything he should do different, or just do it just like your mom did it?
Yeah, like I said, it starts in the home, and it's all about teaching them about love. Yeah. Teaching them about the Lord. It's just teaching them love, to love everybody regardless. Yeah. You know, we just got to love one another, and that's the only way we're going to get it right.
Amen. Thanks. Nikki, we can't hear you. Take that.
You know, like how you read them stories at night, and, you know, like different things like that. You can pick maybe a book, an urban book or something like that, or they don't have to know that, hey, we're going to Karen's house to play because they're black. We're just going to go over here and see our friend Karen. And kids are the best because they have no idea. So they're gonna love you for reading that book to them, And you could even ask them like, hey, look at that, look at Nikki. What's the difference between your hair and her hair? She gonna be like, mine's curlier. She's not gonna know the difference that mine is more coarse than hers. And so when they get older and they come across or encounter other races, it won't be such a shock factor. That's what my boys came across. And I actually felt more bad for the opposite child than mine because I said he has no idea. He has never interacted, and it's not their fault. So I say it started with reading to them, TV programs. Whatever you do to teach them the Bible, you could do the same thing to teach them about ethnicity. Let them try different foods. Let them watch different things so that they can know. And actually, they can teach you something. You'd be surprised.
Amen. Amen. Yep, go ahead, Katie. James, did you have a comment on what was said?
Kids learn from the parents. So if they are seeing you constantly with this race, barbecuing or whatever, and they grow up, eventually they got kids too. So while you barbecuing, the kids start playing with each other. So when they become adult, they don't even think about this stuff because they grew up with all different kind of races. So I think it'll help out like with friends. When you invite them over, they bring their kids over, kids play with kids. You know, you see mom and dad hanging out, and they hanging out. So,
It's good. Katie Brennan, go ahead. Yeah. 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 Before you do, let me just reiterate it quick. I'm not going to share the whole thing, but Katie talked about growing up in Milwaukee as a white girl in a majority black school and being mistreated there by kids and by staff because you were white. And then your point flowing out of that, Katie, is that it comes down to those kids were hating on you because of the hate that that their moms and dads had and passed down. And so your point, I think, is that we've got to deal with that hate as we grow up into adulthood. That hate, however it comes to us, whether it's passed down or it's our own, needs to be dealt with in order for progress to be made. Summing up somewhat, at least what Katie said. Phil, you wanted to comment on that.
Yes, what I want to say about that
Hold on, Phil.
is it do start from kids act like that at school and doing that. They didn't learn that on their own. It came from home. It came from their parents. Now, whatever their parents went through, I think it should have been a learning experience from them, but not to teach your kids to sit up here and be mean to another race because this race did this to you and this, because it's not necessarily going to happen with your kids. And I agree. I disagree. When kids growing up, they should know right from wrong. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be, you can't play with this white person or you can't play with this Mexican person. No. She's a child, he's a child like you. Y'all all should get along. You know what I'm saying? Apparently, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? They got racism in every nationality. They got blacks. They got blacks hate blacks. I done ran to black Afro-Americans hated that they was black. They wanted to be white. Tripped me out, blew me. They didn't like their skin. They said they hate black people. They wish they was dead. On my mama. I tripped out. It was a female. She didn't like her own race. So it's crazy people out here, and they have the reasons. I mean, they do strange things for strange reasons. They say strange things for strange reasons. But the way I was raised, my mom raised me as you love one, you know what I'm saying, that's to you. You know what I'm saying? You don't mistreat nobody. You don't hit no girl. You don't do none of that. If a girl hits you, you go tell somebody. Put your hand on a woman. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what race she is or whatever. I don't care if she started what. That's where I was born. I mean, raised. You know what I'm saying? I was raised to be able, because I went to an all-Catholic school where it was dominant white. You know what I'm saying? It had a few blacks. It was a little pepper, a lot of salt, you know what I'm saying? However, you know what I'm saying? It was okay. I had a few scribbles, but it wasn't no racial thing, the way it was happening. Because, first of all, the school wasn't going for it. The priests and the nuns, oh, they didn't play that racial stuff when you in Catholic school. Man, they take you to the office, and back then they had rulers. And they'll do you and call your parents finish you off. So, I mean, it's up to the individual. It's left up to the parent, and it do start at home. Now, your parents can't control your kids learn outside. Because don't get me wrong, you could do all the things you can possibly do to make your kids better. But they got to hit them streets. They go around them kids, they friends, stereotype. They see their friends doing this and saying that. They think it's cool. So they pick up a lot of bad habits in the street. You know what I'm saying? So you can think, this ain't my child. My child, they leave the house one way, but once they in the street, they another. And then when they get back to you, no, you ain't talking about my child. My child ain't doing none of that. You be surprised.
Yeah.
And it don't have nothing to do with the home training sometimes. It has to do with the street. Peer pressure. You know, so that goes a long way.
Yeah.
It's up at home. Home mainly first.
Yeah. Amen. We got time for one more question, maybe two. Anybody else have something? Connor. So Connor's question was, if you're seeing racism with family members or friends, how do you address that? What would you say? What are a couple of things, action steps that you could take in a situation like that?
Personally, one thing I learned to understand, people is entitled to their opinion. That doesn't make them right, it doesn't make them wrong. And I ain't gonna waste my time trying to change your opinion because it ain't gonna work. So we have to agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. You know, cause you ain't gonna change their opinion, cause this is already in their mind. You know? And I wanna go back to what you was talking about. What I learned, a lot of people is just followers. You know, I learned that as a kid. When you got a group of them, that main one that doing all the talking, deal with that one, probably the one you had to slap, and everybody else gonna go away. Cause I was raised a certain way. I ain't know nothing about racism. You know, everything I grew up around there, black stores, black schools, you know. So if I heard one of my friends as I got older start talking about a white person, I said, wow, he really mad at that person. So I'm thinking, what did that person go through in his life? He or she experienced something. And then I'm gonna make the choice there if I'm gonna associate myself with that person or not. Cause that's not who I am. You know, that's why I was saying, it's not, all people is not bad. All officers not bad, all whoever. But you get that one, and the other ones just follow, knowing it's not right. So,
Yeah, man. Anybody else have a thought for Connor? We'll close with that. Nikki, go ahead. Get that mic. And hold it close to your mouth.
Okay, we're gonna go fast, we can go home. Just don't, I would just say share what you've learned. Share how you feel. You can't change other people's perspective on certain things. You can't change how they feel. You can't change their mind. But the more you share your story, the more you tell them what you learning. Even here today, like I went to this cool panel. It was all kind of people. You'd be surprised what I learned. Let me tell you about it. And even though sometimes they don't want to show it, they go home and they left with the idle mind and their thoughts. And you'd be surprised how they'll come on around. Just don't give up. That's what we all gotta do. We just gotta keep working with each other and on each other. Yeah. And it's coming. It's coming. Watch this turnaround. Even starting here with all of us. Who would have ever thought? So it'd be a couple people walk past and what they in there doing with all them black people up there talking? Just that. Congregating, coming together, moving forward, speaking life and inspiration and motivation into one another. Y'all have a good night. We'll continue soon, I hope.
Hey, hold on. No, I got to capitalize on that because, you know, when Jim came over to my house and sat on my porch and said, what can we do? You know, we can't just sit on this. We need to do something. What can we do as a church? I like what Nikki's saying. She's talking about hope. There is something that can be done, and I think it does come from the individuals. You know, at the very least, we can grow individually. You know, we can make a difference, like you said, Connor. Maybe you can influence somebody that you know that. And I think the education piece is huge. Tell them what you're learning. I know for me, I've been learning a lot in these last few weeks. I know my own experience, but I don't know a lot about the history. I was aware of what happened with Rodney King, kind of. I was a high school kid when that happened, but I know a little bit more about it now and the ramifications of that. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn from each other. And then I think as we go forward humbly and boldly, you know, as the Lord works on us, He can use us in one another's lives too. And again, on both sides of the fence. I mean, I want to say, you know, for Chris, thank you for coming and sitting up here and sharing your heart. And, you know, for me, my experience with the police have been so positive, and I so appreciate, you know, what you guys do every day. And I think, you know, I've heard that from a lot of African-American folks that I've talked to, Phil be one of them, you know, that says, hey, I know that, yeah, there's some bad police officers, as has been said over and over, but there's a lot of good ones, and we know that. And so thank you for all you do. And so I think we got to keep keep everybody in mind here as we move forward as a church. And I would just ask, that you guys would be praying. We're all praying, talking. What else can we do? What's the next step for us to be a part of positive change in our church first, in our families, and then in Duluth and beyond, however the Lord would see fit. So thank you for coming tonight. We'll pray about what the next steps are. And I'd just like to close in prayer. Let's give the panel one more hand. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. Let's pray together. Lord God, I thank you so much for tonight. Thank you so much for each one who came, whether they came in the audience, whether they're watching on TV, whether they're up here, especially on the panel. Thank you for the way each one shared tonight, boldly, honestly, from the heart. God, that's what we were hoping for, and that's what happened. I just praise you for that. And God, thank you, as Phil and others talked about, Rachel, everybody, with you, nothing's impossible. With you, there's always hope. From you comes the truth on these matters. And you're working all things for good, Lord. Even all the terrible, hard things of these past few weeks and the past 400 years, etc., you're working them for good, God. And we're hopeful. I'm hopeful that things can get better. And I just pray that you'd use us and that you'd mold us and that you'd shape us and that we would be a church that doesn't see race, that loves each other as children of God, that plays together and has each other over for barbecues and where kids can come up in a healthy way, seeing things the way you see them, Jesus. And so I just pray you'd help us to grow in all these ways, help us to learn from each other, and I just praise you for tonight. It's been a blessing. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Amen. Go in peace, guys. Thanks for coming. Oh, yeah, James.